Good work. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the City of Bettendorf Committee of the Whole meeting. Today is Monday, April 4th, 2022. It's 5 o'clock. Thank you all for being here. We have 6 items on our consent agenda that we're going to talk about. The first 3, H, I, and J, are setting public hearings, and we're going to welcome our Community Development Director, Mark Hunt, for all 3 of those. And you'll obviously stay on the hot seat for a couple other items, but these can be done together if you so choose, my friend. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Members of the council, I just thought I'd give you an update on some public hearings we have coming up. We do have 3 coming up on this council cycle, and that's a little bit unique, so I thought I'd give a brief update on each of these 3. Some of them you've had some updates at other meetings on, but also maybe some information for some of you. 2022-004, that's the rezoning at Forest Grove and Criswell, which you're all familiar with. Just want to give you an update of where we're at in this process. Dick McNamara has applied to rezone this area from A1 to R3. Right now, we've gone through the P&Z process. Prior to that, we had a neighborhood meeting. This goes back into December of 2021 when we first started working on this project. It has resulted in several iterations. So there's been 2 or 3 documents that have been floated, some publicly set on agendas and then pulled back at the P&Z. And due to that fact, I just kind of want to show you where we're at right now, so there's no confusion when we come to council tomorrow night about what the public hearing we're setting is. And it is what's in front of you, the 46 single-family housing units. Those basically, that whole west side is all single-family homes, and then 19 townhome buildings, 4 units each, all single-story on pretty much the east side. And the city, in its future land use map, does reserve that corner for commercial use. So you'll see that as undeveloped space, and it's not really part of the rezoning at all, but it is shown on the drawing, if you will. Again, we're setting the public hearing for 4/19 of 22, so the next council cycle. And just wanted to give you that update of where we're at in the process, what drawing we're talking about, what use we're talking about. And there's a lot of other things that will be provided to you when we do our full presentation on this conditional rezoning in the future. With that one, I'll just keep moving on to our second public hearing that we're going to be setting. This one's a little bit different in that we have a PUD, Plan Unit Development, an R3, PUD that we would like to rezone to R1 as the city being the applicant. And this is one of those cases where a PUD was brought to the city back in 1972. I was born in 1973, so you can't blame me for this one. But it was brought to the city back in 1972, never developed. This happens sometimes. Our code actually says after 2 years, it's actually void. So then it's kind of in limbo, kind of in a dead zone, if you will. And we just want to clean this up. It was brought to light when we had another project proposed for this area and a potential buyer. And so there is a proposed use I'm showing here, but that's really not directly related to what we're trying to do with the PUD. We want to get the PUD cleaned up. There may be a future use coming, or there may not. But investigating that future use in that application, we did find this PUD to be undeveloped and needs to be probably removed, cleaned up from a zoning perspective. Again, we're setting a public hearing for 4/19 of 22, so next council cycle. There has been some other process around this. Again, a neighborhood meeting for a related use, but not directly related to this rezoning request, was held on 3/10 of 22. I think at least one council member was there, and staff were present as well. And then it was brought to P&Z on 3/16/22, where it did have a positive review. Again, you'll get a full update, the full project, but I just want to give you a process update of where we're at right now on this one. If you remember when we did TBK recently, the new side of TBK, if you will, that east side, that also had a PUD that had been 20-some years old that we needed to remove to get to the right zoning to start the next rezoning process, and this is similar to that process. Okay, I'll move on to the last one for public hearings. This one was actually brought by a citizen applicant for a text amendment to regulation related to fences. This is George Hallis. He lives at 4513 Stonehaven Drive. Basically, the petitioner here sought relief from P&Z to actually change the text of our zoning ordinance to allow, in certain cases, a 6-foot fence in the front yard. And that certain case is really shown here best in the picture, but I'll show you the text of the amendment as well. When you have a through lot, A road on both sides equals a through lot, plus this is also a corner lot. But having a road on both the north and south side here creates a through lot and creates two front yards. One of those front yards is the functional rear yard. The petitioner had come to BOA in August of 2016, requested a 6-foot fence in the front yard that was denied. Subsequent to that, there have been other rulings by the BOA on certain busier roadways to allow fences in the front yard, to block traffic, to block lights, reduce noise, those type of things. And this petitioner went through and kind of did all the work for staff, really. Went back and looked at all those cases and said, hey, I think I'm in a similar situation. Now, Crow Creek may or may not be specifically as busy as another road, maybe Tangleford or 18th Street. But what he asked is that we classify it based on road classification system or federal road classification system, which we've done here. And I'll show you the text of the amendment. So for a through lot, a fence not exceeding 6 feet in height may be located in a required front yard abutting a street right-of-way where all the following are met. I won't read through A, B, C, D, and E for you, but I think the most important one is A. When you're finding a minor collector, major collector, minor arterial, or principal arterial roadway, so basically our biggest thoroughfares in the city, those now would allow on a through lot a front yard fence of 6 foot or higher. And that is in keeping with many decisions by the BOA to allow them. So in some cases, when you look at the BOA's action, if they are consistently ruling in favor of something, it's probably time to update the code to match what they're ruling for. And so that's what this text amendment would bring. Again, in the process, it's gone through P&Z. It's not officially to you yet. We're just setting the public hearing, but I wanted to give you an update on that.
Anybody have any questions on consent H, the first one? On consent I, the second one. All right, on consent J, the third. Jerry.
Thank you, Your Honor. Could you show us exactly where the fences are going to go on this picture? Or approximately, anyhow?
Yeah, I think I could approximately. I wouldn't say this is exactly, but my annotator is on. I think they're going to be right around here, right around the landscaped area. So it would still be within that landscaped area. I think he's staying either 12 or 15 feet back. I don't know exactly, but it's either 12 or 15 because that's the way the code would read.
And then he's not going around the whole house then with that. He's just going in the backyard.
Right, yeah, technically it's a front yard, but yeah, his
Front
functional
yard,
backyard, yeah, it would just extend the fence, I think, in a fashion like this. Excuse my terrible
Thank you.
John Madden.
What's the downside, if any, to consent J, changing our ordinance consistent with this? I mean, there were reasons why we didn't do it in the first place, but we're kind of looking at those, I assume, and saying, as long as we're 12 feet back and it's not an impediment to vision on Stonehaven and or Crow Creek so that those turns aren't problematic.
Yeah, I think the downside is we want to avoid the tunnel effect, if you will. If you could imagine driving down a busy thoroughfare, maybe in another city where the walls are just built right up down the road and you basically feel like you're driving in a tunnel. That kind of works against some of the neighborhood character we're trying to develop. The way we've written the ordinance is that 12 to 15 foot setback is required, and then we do require plantings on the exterior or on the road side of the fence if it's of a certain length or longer. So you'd have an evergreen, something to break it up. And then again, we're keeping it back. We're not going right to the edge of the property line with these.
Right.
We still do have some buffer. But I think as our town gets busier and some of these roads have gotten busier, rulings that came to the BOA many moons ago, now that road has gotten busier, the traffic has gotten worse. And instead of doing it at case by case, onesies and twosies, we could just make a text amendment that would probably meet the needs of the citizens and what we as planners think is correct.
Okay. Any other questions on J? Yeah, Scott.
I get it in a way, but this has 3 front yards.
He does, yeah.
So does that allow him to go out towards Stonehaven all the way to 12 feet?
No, it has to be in a functional rear yard. So only on the, I'm gonna say the north side here. would it be
But
allowed.
let's say he wanted to make his functional backyard a different direction. In some cases, he would be able to choose that.
Yeah, I suppose he would, I guess, once you made that choice, then
This-
that,
Yeah, this particular case doesn't lay out all cases typically why it went to Board of Adjustments is they can look at it, determine the functionality of it.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have somebody claiming that their functional backyard is a yard that you wouldn't want the fence going out that far on. That's the only concern I have.
Yeah, so maybe the term functional rear yard needs to be defined probably in code.
Yeah, I mean, because I could see why this guy would want the fence. I could see why it would work for him, but changing the entire thing could create a situation that could be worse.
Yeah. So like maybe looking at the alignment of the house and where the entry of the house is and that type of thing, then obviously, this rear yard here is not really a usable space. It's so small. We could look at adding that definition to what is a functional rear yard and what is a functional front yard so that we have that, so we can kind of hold people honest. So they're not, hey, today it's my rear yard, tomorrow it's not kind of game. I see what you're saying.
My other part is actually a little bit of concern with the planting that you're putting. You're bringing the fence to 15 foot back,
Yeah. 12,
and then you're telling them they can or should put a tree in there. Now you're blocking the view for traffic even more. I mean, we had that problem a little bit on Hopewell where they put trees in. They had to go back and remove all of them because you couldn't see cars coming.
Yeah.
So that would be
On a
another,
corner lot, that would be maybe more of a problem than I think just on a, through lot that's more middle aligned.
well, I mean, all through lots are gonna have a turn onto a major road.
Yeah, but you could have a through lot that's in the middle of the span, if you will. So you have a road on one side, a road on the other side, but you're not on the corner. The ones on the corner could be more potentially provide the
That's the bigger worry.
Yeah. I mean, that's where it
vision
gets,
issue.
because
Trying
if
to
you're
figure out
telling
what
them
you're
to put that in there and then they go and put it in, we may be going back and telling them they gotta take it out because there's accidents. So that'd be my only two.
I think the vision triangle would still apply to any fence, so would do a fence review. Before the fences are built, the planners review them. And we do look at the vision triangle, so that would help prevent that.
Yeah. Just thoughts before it comes to us.
Understood. Thank you for that insight. Yes, Greg?
Is there a restriction on a solid fence as opposed to a chain link? Or is it just fence?
Yeah, not for us. The only time we're really concerned about the fence type is when it's located anywhere where there might be drainage. We don't want a fence type that would
Block the water.
inhibit the flow of water. So that's where we look at fence type. For the most part, we don't specifically as a city. Now, your HOA, if you have one, might specify that.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions on J? All right, Mark, let's move to consent K. Well, here, before we do that, since we've got them, we kind of went all together. Let's entertain a motion to approve consent H to remain on consent for tomorrow night.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Let's take a look at consent I.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And consent J, please?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Let's move to consent K, please.
Case 2022-009, 3233 Centennial Court, Silverthorne Development. We have here a lot in our industrial park down off of State Street. I-2 General Industrial District. It's being developed as a contractor condo, so you have some office space, some storage, and some bay doors to pull trucks in, move equipment around. Will be occupied by Silverthorne themselves, so they're also occupying their own building that will be building. No plat to consider here. It's already platted back in 2011. I tried to do a quick screenshot here of the site development plan. You probably have a better picture in your own packet, but it's pretty minor here. Just one entrance. The bay doors will be facing this southeast side, I guess you'd call it. There would be some staff parking, visitor parking here, also parking within the building itself. You do have drainage along this ditch that will be utilized. That connects to the DOT drainage system along State Street. You do have 4 tree factors, and they're located here at the front of the building off Centennial Court. And here's a proposed elevation. Again, the front of the building here, near Centennial Court, those 3 bay doors. Looks like it's got a parapet wall here. It's really not 2 stories. So I can answer any other questions you may have on that site development plan.
Any questions on this plan for 3233 Centennial? No? Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion that remain on tomorrow night's consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll take it up tomorrow. Consent L, another site development plan. This is for 4383 53rd Avenue.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Again, 2212 53rd Avenue, 4383 53rd. One of the last lots and shops of the Woodlands. Again, just a site development plan to consider here. We already have this lot platted. It's been platted for several years, since 2017. Proposed use is a strip mall with 4 retail bays and 1 restaurant bay. Everything would be single story. The applicant is Woodmiller Design Build, as it has been with the rest of the subdivision. It was platted in 2017. I think I mentioned that. For the most part, the more than half, I'm going to say 3/4, are going to be retail spaces. The exact users to be yet defined, and then we do have 3,000 square foot of restaurant space, and that would be allowed as a neighborhood commercial restaurant. We do have a size limiter of 3,500 feet for neighborhood commercial restaurants. And at 3,000 feet, they would have yet another 500 feet they could add in this patio here. I would note that while the patio can be built, if they were going to serve alcohol on it, it would have to go to the Board of Adjustment for a special use permit for that service area. But building it as part of the site plan is okay now. Just if they start using it for alcohol service, they will have to get that permission from the BOA. 10,000 square foot building, roughly 3,000 square foot restaurant. Obviously, 7,000 goes to retail. Only entrance is on Ontario Drive. We do not want to have an entrance here on the northeast corner with this island here. It's actually noted in the plat. There won't be any entrance off of Slate Creek Drive. If you were to have one here, the problem would be is people would kind of jump the curb, if you will, or skip going around and end up turning against traffic on that inlet. It does connect to the regional stormwater, so stormwater is already provided for regionally, and this will just connect to that system. 5-foot sidewalks all around. Dumpster will be enclosed in the southwest corner of the building, and the tree factor of 22 is required and provided for in the drawing. I do have some elevations to share with you. These are a little hard to see. I can probably zoom in for you. But they match the character of the other buildings in that subdivision. And this is a photograph of a similar to building elsewhere in the community. I'd be happy to answer your questions if you have them.
Questions on L? Okay, seeing none, I'd like to entertain a motion to remain on tomorrow night's consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll take it up tomorrow on consent. Let's move to item G. Brian Schmidt,
Thank you, Your
our
Honor.
Director of Public Works. This is you.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Over the past year or so, there's been some lighting issues over there at the Waterfront Convention Center, coupled with a desire to convert a lot of the CFL fixtures to LED. So last fall, the Isle of Capri maintenance staff received an estimate from a local contractor to remove and replace all the lighting fixtures at the waterfront. That cost came in pretty exorbitant at $760,000. I went ahead and I met with the Isle of Capri staff, with my building or facility maintenance staff, and after reviewing everything internally within the building, we found out that just by replacing the light bulbs that were ballast compatible in the majority of the whole entire facility, we were able to achieve that with, we were able to purchase the light bulbs and to have Isle staff and our staff assist in replacing all of the lighting, the majority of the lighting within the building. The resolution that would be in front of you tomorrow night is authorizing me to enter into an agreement with Davenport Electric, who has done a lot of work over there. This would be replacing the dimming control system within the facility, along with the 89 domed current CFL lighting fixtures that are inside the gallery area when you walk in, as well as outside of the building. That cost is $71,000. My facilities manager is also working with Mid-American Energy to receive rebates on all this, lighting, as well as savings on the labor. After it is all said and done, we anticipate this project that was estimated at replacing all of the fixtures at $760 to just under about $120,000. So I'm seeking your approval tomorrow and authorizing me to enter into agreement with Deco Electric to finalize all the lighting needs at the Waterfront Convention Center.
You may have forgot the most important part. Is this part of our funds set aside for
It is.
these type of things at the waterfront?
It is, sir.
Awesome. So it's not new money, it's stuff that we've set aside and they're in agreement to use the money.
Right.
Awesome. Any questions for Brian? Yes, Jerry?
Thank you, Hunter. So this is an environmentally friendly project because it reduces the amount of electricity we'll be using in the future.
Yeah, we definitely see that there will be a savings because the entire building was pretty much CFL, and then we've converted everything. Like I said, right now, we probably have about 75% of the facility in LED right now.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, I'd like to entertain a motion that this remain on consent as item G tomorrow.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, let's take a look at the remaining consent agenda items before we approve that agenda. Anything on the consent agenda, any particular council member would like to discuss? Frank?
Thank you, Your Honor. Brian, could you just give us a little picture of what you're doing up on Tanglewood Road there, next to the Dolan, I believe it's Dolan project there?
Thank you. We're looking at reconstruction of that entire section of road. Right now, it is an existing seal coat road with just ditches on the side. We'll be reconstructing that to a 29-foot width, similar to what you see on Hopewell Avenue. That'll actually have curb and gutter and storm sewer. We will be working with the local businesses and whatnot, and the contractor in setting up a meeting. Obviously, as we phase this particular project, because we know that there's gonna be some inconvenience, obviously, to the homeowners, Tanglewood, and then also the YMCA.
Will that also include street lighting along that section too? Because that's an awful dark road.
I don't think that that's included in this particular contract, but that's something that we can definitely look into.
It's needed.
Once this project is complete, we can order those streetlights in.
Thank you.
Anything else on consent for any particular council member this evening? All right, then I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the entire consent agenda for consideration tomorrow night.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll take up those items on consent. Take a look at our operational items, and if there's anything there, especially considering the public hearings at number 9 and 11. Any questions or thoughts, we'd like to get those out of the way this evening. Anything on our operational agenda for tomorrow? All right. We approve that for looking at those things tomorrow evening. If there's anything else that any council member would like to add? Yes, Greg?
At some point, I'd like to have a discussion, we could do it during a informational meeting or something, about the speed limit on 53rd Street. Davenport has lowered 53rd to 40 because of all the businesses and construction and congestion, and we're having the same thing. Another building today, just look, I think it's too fast. It's the only street in town other than River Drive or Highway 67 that's 45. So I'd just like to have that, discussion at some point.
Whatever we need to do, let's get on our agenda, Brett and Brian, to take a look. I don't know what particular
Yeah.
steps you take when you look at something like that, but
Public Works can look and work with Andrew Champion,
Okay.
with the police department, and
See if there's a
make
need.
recommendation, see if there's a need first of all, and then make a recommendation accordingly.
appreciate it. Thank you. Anything else? All right. How about a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting?
So moved.
We stand adjourned. Good week, people. We'll see you here tomorrow by 7 p.m., please.